7 of the fantasy football season, and here's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers this week. The first guy, Joshua Dobbs of the Arizona Cardinals. So Dobbs right now available in 85% of fantasy leagues, and so far this season, it's been a mixed bag of results here for Joshua Dobbs, and Kyler Murray might be back sooner than later. But anyway, the last few games here for Dobbs have been a struggle. Week 5 versus the Bengals, 166 pass yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 windows, a fumble loss. And then week 6 at the Rams, 235 pass yards, and though 47 rushing and a fumble loss. So those were 2 bad matchups for Dobbs. He's been turning the football over way more, where the first 3-4 weeks of the season, he's playing good football. But right now, pretty decent matchup with the Seattle Seahawks. I give up the 12th most fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. So right now, he still has decent weapons. Hollywood Brown, Zach Ertz, Michael Wilson, Rondale Moore, some players that could spread the field a little bit. And he's been good with his legs, getting minimum 3-4 points per game on the ground. Here is Joshua Dobbs. So this week in another game where the Cardinals most likely will be trailing early and often and have to pass and play from behind in this one. I like him as a sleeper. The next sleeper is Tyson Beckett of the Chicago Bears. So he's starting this week here as Beckett, with Justin Fields out with the thumb injury. And coming in for Fields in relief last week, he went 10 for 14, 83 yards, an interception, 4 rushing yards with a rushing touchdown and a fumble loss. And this week, I know it's not a great matchup versus the Vegas Raiders. I give up the 20th least amount of fantasy points to quarterbacks on the season. But right now, this is going to be a grinded out, sloppy game, I believe, between both teams here, with Brian Hoyer and Aiden O'Donnell. One of these guys are going to start at the quarterback position. And Beckett right now, he's available in 97% of fantasy leagues, and he's got decent weapons on the offense. You got, obviously, DJ Moore, one of the better receivers in the league so far this season. Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet out of the backfield, Foreman and Johnson, most likely, if Johnson's going to play in this game. And right now, with a decent matchup in a home game for the Chicago Bear team, I think Beckett could be a decent sleeper option this week. And the third and final quarterback I have as a sleep is Baker Mayfield of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Baker Mayfield, he's been pretty decent in his first season with this Buc team, available right in 72% of fantasy leagues. So Baker, no doubt about it, last week a tough matchup versus the Detroit Lions, only 206 passing yards, an interception, but the previous games before that, 3 out of the first 4 games before the bye week, he had 18 or more fantasy points. So this week here, matchup versus division foe, the Atlanta Falcons. This is a big ball game here for this Tampa Bay Buc team. They don't want to fall 2 in a row, especially at home. And him and Mike Evans are on the same page. Him and Chris Godwin are starting to get things going. And last week, the game definitely could have been different. There was a play that the ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage. And if it wasn't tipped, Mike Evans was open down the field, then it possibly would have been a 92-yard touchdown. So right now, Mayfield, he's just missing by a little bit over the last few games, even though in week 4 was a monster ball game for Baker, 246 pass yards and 3 touchdowns, winning it though in 31 rush yards. So this week here in a matchup with the Falcons coming to town, I think is a deep dive in deeper leagues or a guy in 2 quarterback leagues. He could be a sleeper option. So that's a few quarterbacks I have as sleepers for week 7 of the fantasy football season.